Woo, boys and girls, I am tired. Now, GW are marching ever onward with their previews, and yesterday was no exception. They dropped one for the way command points work in the new edition of 40k, and I really wanted to jump on this one as soon as I got back from work. However, I've been starting to cycle into work more, and obviously if you cycle into work, you got to cycle back from work. This is a little aside. And I was just absolutely shattered when I got back home last night, so I had to, quickly have a wash and just food and then jump straight into bed. So, doing it now. But, funny little story before we begin. I had my first incident of cyclist classism last night. Now, my bike, this is an aside, I'll get to the article, trust me. My bike ain't great. It ain't new or anything like that. It's quite old. It's old enough that it creaks pretty much all the time. You don't need a bar, to let people know you're coming. You can hear this thing coming. But, gets me to work and back, and I'm not flush with cash enough to spend upwards of 200 odd quid on a new bike, a like-for-like sort of replacement. Well, anyway, it gets the job done, so I've been putting up with it. Anyway, on the way back home last night, on a country lane, wide country lane, nothing about, I was overtaken by these two other guys, cyclists, and they were on really expensive looking bikes, road bikes. They had the whole thing going on with the helmets, the go faster glasses, and the sort of jumpsuit sort of look. And as one of them cycled past me, he says, "You need to get that old piece of shit thrown away, dickhead." And I was absolutely taken aback. I was like, wow, I was expecting get off drivers because, road rage is a thing, but I wasn't expecting that kind of response off someone else just out on their bike. So, obviously, I invited that guy to go and eat his own arsehole and then eat my arsehole after he's finished. But yeah, classism in cyclists, apparently it's a thing. Anyway, that's my little story aside. Consider that the dessert to today's video, the main course. Because command points, they have been a weird thing in 40k, I find. It's with the advent of stratagems. I mean, stratagems basically give your army, we all know this. Well, anyone who plays 40k knows. Obviously, if you don't, you won't. But, I'm assuming you do. Anyway, stratagems basically are unique abilities for your faction, or unique abilities that you can perform for the cost of command points. Command points is like a currency or a resource that you acquire at the start of the game by constructing your army. Basically, whatever detachments you have, you combine they each give their own, as it stands, their own command point benefits. So let's say if you have a battalion, it gives you 5 command points now, and you just, by bolting on more and more attachments, you get more command points, up to a limit of 3. And this was your resource pool for the entirety of the game. Now, there was ways of getting it back through game mechanics and stratagems, things like that. I mean, you might, for example, you can assassinate a particular kind of unit, like a character, and you could have a chance to get D3 command points. Things like that. There was a way to recoup them back, but GW seemed throughout the course of 8th wanted to put a curtail on that, because people were basically creating command point batteries, and obviously if you have access to a vast amount of command points and your opponent doesn't, then you've inherently got an advantage. This was evident in my experience when I was playing Chris and Chris's Grey Knights. Now, Chris likes his Grey Knights, he likes his small elite strike force of paladins, he loves the things, but you ain't going to get many command points if you're just focusing on that kind of build for your army. I, however, being a Tyranid player, I've got, troops for days, and I could have lots of command points, and he's like, well, my paladins are hard as fuck, but I've got no paladins. And I'm like, that's great news, but do you know what wants to know that? All these gaunts, and all my shit, and all my goddamn stratagems. And it was inherently unfair, and, he can't play around with the stratagems like he'd want to. He'd have to really focus on the ones that had utility more than the ones that had fun. It was a bit of a shitty situation. But now, 9th is rolling around, and it seems like GW is making strides to fix that particular problem. So, as it stands now, as you can see from the little picture there, you have 4 sizes of games that you can have. All the way up to 3,000 points. So Combat Patrol up to 500, Incursion up from 501 to 1000, Strike Force from 101 to 2... that's power level. Strike Force from 101 to 2000 points, or Onslaught for 2001 to 3000 points. A little aside, I think might make strides to start using power level instead, because I'm getting sick of keeping track of points values. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah. Now, each one of these game sizes will net you command points for you to spend, and that is both sides. So if both of you are playing, for instance, Combat Patrol, you'll both start with 3 command points, and that's it. That's your command points. You both got the same amount of command points, and you know it's fair. It's even. Now, it says here in the blurb that you having battalions will affect your initial pool of command points, but it's going to be done in a sort of back to front way than we know now. The battalion with your warlord in will have its command points refunded. So if you have a brigade, stick your warlord in there. Your brigade technically is free. It won't cost you any command points. But every single detachment you put on top of that, whether it be Supreme Command, Super Heavy or whatnot, that will cost you command points. It's sort of trying to emulate the more resources you bring to the table from different resources you're pulling. It will cost you. And I think that's quite a clever idea. Whether it works or not, we'll have to see, but I think that's a good step, because not only does it, first off, it levels the playing field. Everyone's sharing the same amount of points, and basically the onus is on you to weigh up the importance of, right, do I want to keep these command points for stratagems, or do I want to bolt on more powerful attachments to my army, more powerful detachments, sorry. And it also helps to try and take soup off the menu, because you can't pull from Imperial Guard, Space Marines, Custodes, and all that, because it will cost you money. Well, not money, it will cost you money, but it'll cost you points. And that's good. I mean, soup is... I don't like soup, but then again, I've never been in the position where I can play against soup or play with soup. I can understand why it's there, because obviously the Imperium is such a massive, sweeping organization. It's got countless resources it can pull from. It can create, you know, if the needs with their Grey Knights to fight along Imperial Guard and Space Breeds and Sisters of Battle and all that good stuff. I can see that. The same with Chaos. I mean, you've got your Warbands and your Chaos Demons. They often work together. You know, Dark Eldar and Eldar sometimes work together. Tau sometimes ally with other races. Orcs do whatever the hell they want, apparently. And me being a Tyranid player, I've never had anyone to play with until quite recently with G-Steel Cult. So it's never really bothered me. But I could tell just from watching other YouTube channels with, you know, meta gameplay, that soup, when you're at that kind of level, it does become a real problem, because you could just make some broken ass combos. And I don't think the broken ass combos are going to go away. As ever in 40k, when the rules change, just new broken ass combos just rise to the top. They never go away. It's just, they'll just change. And it's like a permanent game of whack-a-mole. You know, one problem goes down, another problem will rear its ugly head. I don't think you're ever going to get them all. But, yeah. So, the more detachments you include, the more it will cost you in command points. Now, in the command phase, the new phase of the battle, that's where you're going to start generating 1 command point per turn. So, in an average game, 6 turns, you will generally recoup back 6 command points on top of what you've got there. So, I don't know whether there'll be a way to alter that with armies, where you can gain an extra command point back, or start off with extra, because I know certain units and certain warlord traits and certain factions let you roll like a D3 and get that many command points back at the start of the game. But as this new command phase goes, I don't know if anything will be able to interact with that in that sort of way. But as it stands, at the start of every turn, every command phase rather, everyone gets 1 command point back. So you do have a sort of a way to recur the ones you spent. Up to 6 as it stands in a regular game. regular 6-turn game rather. So, you know, there is a way for you to get more back. But yeah, it seems that everyone's just going to have the same opportunity to spend command points, so everyone's on the same level, which is really good. And yeah, they're throwing more stratagems out there. This is an example of one they're giving. Cut them down, use a stratagem when an enemy unit falls back before the enemy models in the unit are moved. Roll 1d6 for each model from your army that is within engagement range of that enemy unit. For each result of 6, that enemy suffers 1 more wound. That's good. I'd use that. There's been so many times when I've been in close combat with something and they've just flown away or retreated only to use a stratagem or an ability to turn around and shoot me in the face. I'd definitely use that. That's really good. Engagement range, I think that's with an inch of a model. I think that's the way that works. But yeah. Good news. Finally trying to get a handle on the whole command point stratagem situation. Not saying there won't be problems with it, because like I've just said previously, you can't predict where the meta will shift to. It's just, you know, at the end of the day, if a detachment is so broken it's worth bringing into your army and lose that command points on, then they'll do it. People will do it because, you know, that's the way it is. But we'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But again, as with every other preview so far, initial thoughts looking good. Well, that's it for now. I will catch you all next time. See you later.